They cut like half foot off each side.
You're like
6.5 FM. Locally, nationally, it's Conversation with Jim Anderson. And now, your host, Jim Anderson.
Oh, that's a nice song here.
Yeah, well, I said,
I'm gonna talk about it.
I'm about to say, you gonna touch on that? That was
getting wrong.
Good morning, Buffalo. Welcome to the Conversations with Jim Anderson show. It is not Jim Anderson. This is actually Austin Martin, one of the co-hosts, and I'm joined today by Murray Holman as we wait for our guests to come in. Jim should be making his way to the show, but you know, you do a lot, got to give him grace. Everybody can't be perfect every day. But if you want to join the conversation and share your opinion, you can call in at 716-837-1112. Again, that is 716-837-1112. And like we said, as our guests and Jim continue to make their way to the booth, we'll go ahead and transition the conversation when they arrive. But in the meantime, Mr. Holman, how are you doing today?
How you doing? One of the extra hosts on the show, on the Jim Anderson show. We're so fortunate to be here. We wait for the man to come in the door, but we keep it going. You heard it, Not Like Us song on the air. I'm just going right into it, Austin. It was serious to hear that on there. And then I heard this morning Ricky Smiley show, and it was some people was like upset. I'm like, how you gonna be upset? The man, that's his. He's an artist. You know, he's a true artist. I think it was a successful thing. Not Like Us was on point. All the other songs that he had was on point as well. But back to the show. We're gonna wait for our guest to get here. Mr. Robertson is supposed to be on his way here to come here, a mayoral candidate that's supposed to be coming into the studio to talk to us about why he should be mayor of the city of Buffalo. We leave this open for everyone to come to the show and tell us. So we're going to be reaching out to Rashid Wyatt next and see what's lined up, and whoever else is running, Mayor Scanlon. We want to see if we can get you guys to come here on the air on the Jim Anderson show. And trust me, we won't beat you up. We respect you, you know what I'm saying? But don't duck and dodge us, because if you duck and dodge us, we're going to come looking for you. So people calling in on my phone, they need to call to the station. The number is 837-1112. That's how we roll it out. Back to you.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah, that last night was interesting. I'm gonna just leave it at that. It was interesting. It was interesting is the word we gonna go with.
You sure?
You think DJ Side interested in the word?
Yeah, kick in.
Come on, go ahead. You think interested in the word?
Oh, yes, he is. The man is here. Yeah.
Not even the man.
I'm gonna let y'all get into it. I'm gonna jump in. I'm ready. Y'all want to talk about last night? We can.
Hey, we need to call up Mookie and get him on the air or something, man. Because let him come on and.
I'll make sure you have one. We can talk about it, but it felt good. But I want to talk about.
turn it up.
Yeah.
That was a good performance.
I think it was good, and I think for me, it's one of those things where it's like a lot of other groups all the times are representing the Super Bowl. You might do songs for this group and or that group, but sometimes when certain groups are represented, now it's a problem. And I'm saying certain and kind of, but we know what groups and names I'm putting in here. So I think that it was timely, and I think it's uncomfortable to be confronted with the truth sometimes.
But he was hitting it, even with the American flag, with his his dancers and all that, man. I mean, his art, his artistic ways was so great. When I noticed that it was American flag during his performances, people weren't paying attention because they're only just looking at him instead of seeing what he was all about. So I give him kudos for what he did. It ain't just about the Not Like Us song, but this brother, man, has been writing for a long time for a lot of folks, man. And just to have the whole stage to himself, man, I mean, I done seen some stuff that Bruno Marley and all them, they had their little time, but this was the moment for that, especially in a black city, black Super Bowl. I'm calling it what it is. You know what I'm saying? Look, and all that there. Am I right around shot? It was there. So why not like us? So back to you, Austin. Yes.
I say.
I just want to say this, like, to keep it real. I think that I had so many people say it was too black, and they miss a lot of it. Kendrick Lamar. Let's break it down real fast. He had them wear the red and the blue.
Yeah.
For the Crips.
And the Bloods.
He brought a troop together since last year.
See there?
That was that. White means what? Purity. It means treaty in war.
Go ahead now.
Puts up a wavy white flag. They what? They surrender. But in Trace, it was a truce. That's the truce. That was that. And it was for the flag. And the bigger picture was the PlayStation. He was saying that in America, if you don't follow by our games, you lose. That's why he chose Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, did he hit it hard? Uncle
So
Sam.
you see when he was doing the turned up songs, what did Sam say?
Yeah.
Doing too much.
Yeah.
When he did the softer songs, he said, "This is how we like to see you." I think people missed it. It was a message. It wasn't performance.
Message.
Kendrick was saying, pay attention to what's going on to us right now in Black History Month. They are attacking us. So if we don't come together, we will lose this game.
So you
That's
get
what
it
was
hit.
all
You
about.
hit it hard,
That's why
brother.
the songs was prestigious. That's why he came at Drake, because Drake was colonizing.
Seeing it.
It's all a message. It wasn't performance. So when I see people say it's too black or he ain't doing enough dance songs, that's the problem. And that's why people like Trump and others prevail, because we so focus on entertainment.
Here you go.
On education.
But they gotta turn that
But
mic
you
down.
know what? No, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but
Yeah.
this is the other thing that I thought was even more brilliant, because I think people keep saying stuff like about Kanye and about Kendrick Lamar. But these two individuals are basically, in my mind, like if you knew Kendrick's, because it was even beyond the performance, it was you needed to listen to the words of the songs.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't know his songs. And if you've seen his concert that was streamed online,
I ain't know his songs, but I was like,
he
whoa.
moved a lot more last night
Yes.
than he normally runs around, because he's not a run-arounder. He normally will stand in one place. He did a whole concert standing in one place for the whole concert, and it was sold out. But I also think the other piece is, when you look at the Kanye, you look at the Kendrick Lamar, they're saying, on my terms, you're still not going to put me down. As crazy as they think Kanye is, I think it's great. Like, yeah, y'all might not think he's here, but he's so smart. He's on a whole nother level. And he's like, okay, I wasn't a billionaire, but I bought a Super Bowl commercial last year. I wasn't invited to the Grammys, but I could still walk in and you're not going to turn me away. And now I'm a billionaire again, and I don't have nobody co-signing on it. So I think the thing is that if people go back and really slow that whole performance down and break down the symbolism and what the words mean and get off of the whole, like, listen to the songs. Like, every song he sang, he announced it.
Yes.
Go back, listen to the actual song. And then if you don't understand the song, find yourself a young person
but he
to
came back with it a
translate.
little bit.
I understand, but the songs themselves, Kendrick Lamar is not the artist that you can sit there and say, let me just hear what he's saying and let me just bop with it. That's not how he comes ever.
But I'm saying to you as an older person, and I didn't know his songs like that. I hear it a lot, but the one song that made him famous to me was Not Like Us. I'm just telling you because that's not my era of music. But I'm saying to you what I witnessed last night, even what Shah just said about the colors of it. I've seen the colors of the flag. I didn't see the colors of the Crips and the Bloods, but I'm trying to tell you, everybody's perspective is a little bit different. And now that's why we have what's going on in our nation right now. That's why we're here today with the man here that's running for mayor that's in our studio right now. Give Austin the floor on that back there. We'll get back to
we're going to say one last thing and I'm going to send it back to you.
Yes.
Even from the beginning, that was the car, his dad's car.
Yeah.
Like, that was his dad's car.
Grand National.
And what he said,
that's
that was his dad.
Car.
That was his dad's car. It wasn't about the kind of car. It was the fact that he said in the beginning, it's the right time, but you picked the wrong one. Like, I'm literally going to be myself today. But
the car is a racing car. I'm telling you, from my era, that car is one of the fastest cars on the market. Let me tell you about the car, because the significance of the car, there's always a story in it. That Grand National car is the most wanted car in our community and across this nation, that Grand National. So that's what I'm just trying to let you know about that car, because I have one and I know what it's about. Right. That's nothing but speed, but that's power.
But then in the beginning, what did he do? He came out like, y'all think we clowns.
Look how many people came out the car.
Because that's a clown car.
Right.
When you go to the circus.
No, it's not a clown car.
No, it wasn't a clown car, but that's my whole point on nothing was what you saw it to be. It was all so much deeper than that, because he started out with, we got this car that represents one thing. He got all these people coming out like a clown car in a circus, but it's not about to be a show. And so I'm going to turn it over to you so that y'all can respect the man who's here. Here, let's give you your mic.
But I want to be properly respectful. How are you doing today? And I think that we want to give you a chance to talk about yourself, Mr. Robinson, talk about your platform, your views for the city, and really help us understand what does a better Buffalo look like with you at the helm. So would you like to introduce yourself and just say how you're doing today?
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me here for this very interesting conversation thus far. I'm Terry Robinson. I'm a lifelong resident of the east side of Buffalo. Cold Spring kid, and I'm a candidate for mayor of the city of Buffalo.
Oh, about to say, well, Mr. Candidate Robinson, we're glad to have you today. And just give us, can you give us a little bit of idea of what goes into the decision to say that, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I think Buffalo needs a different mayor, and I think I'm that person. What led you to want to run for mayor?
I'm running on one particular issue, which is restoration of Humboldt Parkway. Restore Humboldt Parkway, remove the 33, and that issue is kind of the foundation of my platform, my running. If others can move that project forward in the proper way, I'm all for it. I think we have a very interesting collection of candidates for the first time in maybe 20, 25 years since Mayor Byron Brown left. Mm-hmm. And he ran in 2006. So this is it's a change. It's a transformation. Buffalo is entering its third century in 2032. So this is a way to, this is the period just before that. And it's the way that we will enter the third century, and the way we will do it, and the peoples we will do it with, and the way we will address the issues in the past. So that's what this is all about.
So you said you're running, your platform is based on the 33 project. And what I'm hearing is a decision just came through the courts to what? With the judge decision to halt the progress of the 33 project. How do you feel about that right now?
Well, it was a very important decision. We won't know exactly what the decision is until he publishes it. That's the way it works. He comes out with what they call a memorandum of the decision, and then the winner actually writes the decision. The judge will tweak it, but we won't know exactly what he has decided as a legal decision until that's published. But we have a general idea. What he said was that what they decided, that this project, this $1 billion 5-year construction project, would not have any short-term or long-term environmental impact, was ridiculous. We agree with that. The question is, how do we move forward? We're not interested in just say stopping a project.
Right.
We want the right project in our community. Yes. Moving forward in our city. Mm-hmm. We're talking about doing the right project at the right time, right now, because we're at the end of 70 years of the Route 33 running through.
So as the mayoral candidate,
I'm not to interrupt y'all. I want to make sure we get this caller in so they can join the conversation and ask any questions they have for Mr. Robinson. And Mr. Jim is joining us, so I'm gonna let him go ahead, jump into the conversation after the caller gives their question. So caller, you are on the air. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Yep, you're on the air. You can go ahead.
Actually, this is Betty Jean Grant, and I had called because I know Taylor's going to be on today. At the Kendrick Lamar episode, I didn't want to agree with this great. Everything she said is absolutely correct. There was so much vandalism. Even that car, those people coming through this car, and forming the flag of the United States, should be saying that black people, because a black man had that car, whose ancestors were enslaved, and it came through him. So this country came through the enslaved individuals who built America, who built the Capitol. So there was so much stuff, black fists raised in the air. They gave homage to the 1968 Olympics. And when those two brave guys and one white guy stood up their fists in the air, that all gave symbolism. So the black thing wasn't just an entertainment show. That was a history lesson, entertainment. We should be talking about it, analyzing it, taking it apart, and putting it together so we can see exactly what Kendrick Lamar wanted us to know. Right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll continue to listen to the show and this young lady.
Well, thank you, Betty Jean Grant. It's always great to hear from you. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? There's so much history and symbolism. And I think in the different generations that we have and communicating the younger perspective, the older perspective, I think we can kind of get way close to the truth. I think there's a lot of truth in what that show represented. But without jumping the
No,
of
you
respect.
did.
You know, I got
Lottie Dottie and everybody. How y'all
so.
doing? Buffalo, West New York, Points Beyond, and everybody in house. Hey, they've been grilling you yet from the phone line?
Yeah.
No, I've caught a break. They've been talking about the Brothers show last night.
Okay. But it's good to have you here, Terry. And with the mayoral election going down, and your hat is in the ring, and we want to give you a chance to talk about what your campaign is on, and also how people can, if they want to support you, how to support you. A couple of questions that came when people knew you were going to be here. One was, do you think your candidacy would split the vote? I had an answer for him, but I'll let you answer it yourself. In other words, they were talking about how the Democratic Party had only invited, I think, 4 candidates to their thing. And so some people are talking about the other candidates are going to split the vote. But I would, I think this is a teachable moment for us all, because the Democratic Party is but one party. People need to understand that they're one of the parties in the area, and they're one of the lines you could run on if you get it. But you don't necessarily have to run on the Democratic Party. And I do think there's a big confusion in our practice of history, because you got a lot of people say, my daddy, my mama, my grandaunt, them was, Democrats, and they forgot that early South were Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Vote for line.
And it really don't matter what party you in, it's what you stand for in that party and what you do. And just wanted to put that in there while we let you talk about your candidacy and the question of whether you think your candidacy will split the vote. And as calls come in, we'll go deeper and got a full house.
Jim, you and I have been in the street for decades.
Wow.
And
long time.
We were not, I've never known you to be particularly labeled as one party, one person, or one issue or the other, from my recollection going back 40 to 50 years. Yeah. But we deal with the issues that face us, that confront us, and we come up with solutions to those issues without regard to the party line, whatever party that may be. And like you say, I go back to the age of Sherman L. Walker, a prominent Republican in the city of Buffalo.
Y'all know who he was?
No.
Y'all don't know about it. That's a whole other area. But what we'll say is, in short, there were a number of people that were members of the Republican Party when we were young folks, and that transition. And the Democratic Party was the party of the Dixiecrats and a lot of that issue at the time. So it didn't really phase us in terms of whatever label you might have had, whether you were black, white, green, sky blue, pink, south, north, west, east, an immigrant. We were dealing with a issue that involved people coming from different places, different countries, addressing things that were in front of us. They've always been in front of us. As to whether you promoted the Democratic Party's position on it or the Republican Party's issue on it, the issues remain the same. Our position in America, our position moving forward. So right now we're still in the middle of that, as they say. We grew up in the 60s and 70s. A luta continua. The struggle continues. The struggle continues, and it will continue after we're long gone. So, and when you think you've won it, you're back at it again. And we're talking about in terms of women, in terms of men, in terms of black, in terms of economics, in terms of community development. All of those issues are what we're dealing with. And I don't have time for splits, labels, side. Listen, vote for the right thing, put the right people in there to do the right thing. And I don't care what your party is. I don't care who you are. As long as you're an ally in the struggle to make things better for people in the city of Buffalo, we're down with that. That's what this is.
So we had that thing, Mr. Anderson, and me and Austin was talking about it earlier. When you voting, you have to always seem to be stuck on one line. And I guess you tell yourself when you walk into that booth that you cannot read the rest of the ballots. You can go anywhere you want to go in this election here to vote. You necessarily don't have to be on the Democratic line or the Republican line. You can actually, one time someone wrote their name in one of the mayoral races. I mean, didn't it just happen here in the city of Buffalo? So Austin, you was talking about that, dude. You know, certain parties like the Green Party, which I don't know too much about, but if it's there, and the endorsements come through the Democratic Party, say, well, this is what we're going with. What other opportunities do you have to go in other directions to be on the ballot?
Well, what we're going to do, I imagine, is come up with what they call an opportunity to ballot, even a third party. It doesn't particularly matter whether it's whether you vote Democrat, whether you vote Republican, whether you vote Restore the Parkway Party. What we're going to give people is an option to vote for a way forward for the next 4 years of the mayoral space in this city, without regard really to the person, but in regard to the issues that they advocate and in regard to the programs that we're talking about. Why focus on the Route 33, the removal of the 33? And I don't quite understand the other politicians on this, other than I understand Brother Garnell Whitfield has aligned with that issue. The others have remained silent on it. It's a $1 billion. Well, it started out as $1 billion project. It's up to $1.5 billion project, and they'll be lucky to get away with a $2 or $3 billion construction project that goes to some out-of-state multinational corporation with no dollars for the community. There's $0 allocated for community benefit. There's $0 allocated for particular local employment or the project area. The project area where they propose to put it is for disadvantaged communities.
True that. We gotta go to a break, and as you can see, we're both coming to get you. We're going to a break, and we'll come back, but we're still live in studio in here, and so that you know it don't have no slips in the mix.
I have some questions. I am, and I feel like a lot of times we try to act like we know everything at all ages, and I'm not too prideful to say that. I really am not too familiar with the Green Party. I'm not too familiar with why we only have two parties. What is the fear of splitting the vote? Because if like every party splits the vote, yes, it's going to mean that one candidate gets less. You know, instead of like 1,000, they might only get 500. But like, what is why we only have two parties, and why are people so afraid of a third party?
Because it's rigged.
You don't really just have two parties. I mean, you got to be a legit party because you have to get a certain amount of signatures in order to make your party viable. But I can tell you one thing: when Jesse Jackson ran for president, people were talking about third party then. Green Party was around, and you know some other kinds of parties. But what Jesse understood, I remember in Harlem in a meeting when we talked to the group, and he said, you know, the reason I'm doing that is because our people are inside the Democratic Party. You can't stand outside here and say, hey, come over here where I'm at. You either got to go in and usurp it or go in and lead them out. And what that comes down to, we have been using our power. So we were looking at that. But let me also tell you, the times were still ignorant. Because fast forward in not too long ago history, when Charles Barron and Dr. Doyle ran as governor and lieutenant governor, they started a new party called the Freedom Party. Not no long history, but so what I'm telling you is that parties can be found, but can be started, but you have to go through the formalities
Get on the ballot.
To be legit. Yeah. Are we back off break? I mean, we are back. Oh, we still good? Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say, I'm so glad you mentioned. I know you're gonna mention it, but you really went where I wanted to have you respond, because some people are saying we need more young people. And then you hear the truth of a young person saying, yeah, well, we need to. Hey, we get stay with us, y'all.
Welcome back to the Conversation with Jim Anderson show. We were talking with candidate Robinson just about some of his policies around the 33, and then we were even talking off break a little bit about three parties. Why kind of looking at the bipartisan party system, saying like, what are the cons, pros, and what are some maybe the pre-existing beliefs that people have around third parties and what they can do to the chance of someone getting in office. But to be relevant and kind of touch on what we were talking about before we left, I know you were talking about the 33 project. And I think for some people, especially myself, I know this is $1 billion problem, but I also don't know if I truly understand how the 33 may affect other areas of the city as well. Can you talk about maybe the domino effect that fixing the 33 problem will have to benefit other areas of Buffalo as well?
Again, it depends how you approach the thing. The bottom line is this. The Route 33 is a 70-year-old transportation facility. It's at its life. Whether you put a cap on it, whether you make it a tunnel, whether you make it a park, whatever you do to it, it would take you $800 million minimum to maintain that route right now. So there's no question about and as a matter of fact, that project was funded. It was funded in fiscal year 22-23 for $1 billion, but it was only $1 billion out of a $32.8 billion capital budget for the state of New York. The project is funded in order to continue that route that goes from the 90 and 190 and 290. It was a plan that was put in place in the early 1960s when the city of Buffalo was about 500,000 people. And they were planning on expanding the city to 1 million people. They put in the 33 project. You actually went from 500,000 to 250,000 people in the city of Buffalo. It cut it in half because it flowed. It destroyed what was the best regional design in the country. What you had here were these radio designs by Ellicott, the same people that designed Washington, D.C. And then what happened was Frederick Law Olmsted came in with a concept that made a city within a park. It was a parkway system that actually overlapped and united everything. Buffalo had a beltway system that went around the city of Buffalo. You could catch a train back in those days from Angola all the way to Niagara Falls. You got 6 million people a year that come in and go to Niagara Falls just to view it. How do they get to Buffalo? What do they see? All of those kinds of questions. So what you're looking at is a system that was designed 50 or 60 years ago based on an automobile-centric concept, and it destroyed General Motors and those other things, destroyed the ways that people got around in terms of trolleys, in terms of not necessarily having a car. I remember when I was a kid that it wasn't that every family had an automobile. Sometimes 2 or 3 families shared an automobile, went shopping together, all those sort of things. It was a whole different way of looking at getting around and being places and everything else. But now we're looking at another 20 or 30 years going forward. Instead of gasoline-powered, high-powered vehicles, we're looking at electric vehicles. We're looking at people moving on scooters. We're looking at people moving in different ways and getting to where they're going on electric bikes and bicycles and all of those things. So what we're saying is, what is the way forward for people in terms of economics, in terms of retail? I don't have 3,000 people going to the Trico plant. I don't have Bethlehem Steel. I don't have the Ford stamping plant. I don't have the Chevy automobile plant on Delavan that was putting together cars from across the country. People work in different places. You have different people. You still have different. When I was a kid, women could not be high school teachers. They could be limited as teachers. They were secretaries. They weren't doctors. They weren't lawyers. They weren't The whole workforce has changed. The whole concept of
I
how.
got a question for you.
Yeah. Oh.
They want to know what you're going to do now that you're running beyond the expressway.
We're going to do it. The expressway is just the base of the problem. If I take it, we're talking about $1 billion here, minimum. So why don't we use $500 million in the project area? That's where I live, between Delavan and Best, between Fillmore and Jefferson Avenue. You've got to remove those old sewer lines, the old lead pipelines, the combined sewer overflow. Keep it simple.
So what we're saying is basically, and Ms. Anderson hit it on point again. What about the rest of the city? That's what I'm asking. What about, because I'm hearing
Keep it simple. Let me keep it simple, Murray. I replaced the 33. I go from the Elm Oak Arterial all the way down to the 190 of the Skajatwa. The first part of the area, we say restore Humboldt Parkway. That's between Agassiz Circle and Museum of Science. Restore it. Put it back to Parkway. That leads you from the Museum of Science downtown to what we'll call the Mid-City Corridor. Okay, Mid-City Corridor. Maybe you turn the corner on where the medical campus is, the innovation centers. It's shovel ready. You restore the grid. Restore the grid of the fruit belt from the Agassiz Circle all the way through the 190. That's your art in
so that's all I'm asking, because what I'm hearing from so many candidates is East Side, East Side, East Side. My thing is you're running for the mayor of Buffalo. Therefore, you got to include in this piece, even though your main thing is the 33. But what about the West Side? What about South Buffalo? What about North Buffalo? Because those votes that we're talking about, those folks are listening to this. And they probably going to say, well, if you're only going to talk about the East Side, you think I will vote for you if you constantly just talk about one area? I mean,
we're not talking about one area. We're talking about leading the city of Buffalo forward. Why shouldn't the east side of the city
I never said that.
lead the city forward? What you have to do is you can only spend so much money. You can only do so many projects until you create the infrastructure to do it.
But as a mayor, as running for mayor, and this is on the shakeup part, I'm saying it clearly, you have to get the votes from all districts in order to become the mayor. You cannot win this, I'm saying it clearly, based on the east side, because there's not enough voting going on the east side of Buffalo like what I've seen over the past. That's what I'm saying. So you have to go out into other areas and persuade those folks to vote for you. That's what I'm saying. If you don't give them nothing to go on, how am I going to vote for you if you're just constantly saying the east side of Buffalo and not saying the other parts of the city of Buffalo? You have to include that in your campaign. If not, then the other people won't vote for you. So now we back to what Mr. Anderson and what Ms. Austin said, splitting the vote. And we got good candidates on this thing here. A lot of y'all are very, very smart. I'm like, at one time I remember Arthur O'Eve was running against so many candidates, and I was like, why don't they just get together and pick out which one is the best one, and then we can make this thing work for the benefit of all of us, and then I can give you a job in City Hall as a deputy mayor or whatever to get this thing done. Because what's going to happen is when you split the vote, who wins at the end?
No, we're not talking about splitting the vote. We're not talking about prioritizing one side over the other. When you do the right thing for the right people, everybody benefits. What we're talking about is restoring a system of flow throughout the city of Buffalo. You got proof of concept in the Elmwood Village. Elmwood Village is where
it's done.
The Olmsted system is in place, where you have arterials, et cetera, et cetera. Right. It's ranked as one of the top neighborhoods in the country for the last 20 or 30 years.
All the zones out. Fillmore District is part of Elmwood District. They, with the census and all that, they don't play games with the census and move them boundaries. So at one time, the Fillmore District was mostly black, and they only had down there towards
listen. Whether the Fillmore district includes Bailey, Delavan, all the way across to Marine Drive to Allentown, that's just rigged for the politics of keeping the incumbents in there. When's the last time anybody was elected that wasn't an incumbent, that wasn't fed into the... Oh, we're not getting into that nonsense. What we're talking about is looking forward and doing things that promote the city of Buffalo. We're a part of the city of Buffalo. We're used to being leaders. And what they did was when I was a kid, going back again, there were a number of East Side political parties and institutions. It was a vibrant thing. It wasn't if you're not with us, you're against us, et cetera, and where they robbed all of those independent institutions of their monies, of their ways forward, and where they made them an enemy of the political structure. That's not what we're talking about. We've got a positive plan.
Let me ask you also, because as the petitioning begins to start getting underway, those who are really in it are going to have to prove it by getting the petitions, because and listeners, be mindful, the petitions are to run for a particular party, to be on their line. So like with the Democratic Party, you have several folks trying to get the endorsement of the Democratic Party.
They said left.
And what happens is that somebody is not going to get it.
Right.
And so what does that mean? Are they out?
That's what we asked.
Or for some of them, they might dare to try and do a write-in. It's a legitimate thing.
For the last mayoral party, the endorsed candidate, the person that won the primary, did not win the
and I'm saying, but what we're supposed to learn from that history. So what is it that we got to get smarter about? For instance, yesterday you had the county chair, Erie County Democratic Committee chair on, and the question came to him. Someone called, wanted to know who their committee person was. He told them to call the office, and then they would tell them. What I want to submit to people, if you don't know who your committee person is, so what? Now, if you're in the Democratic Party and don't know who your Democratic committee person is, you might want to call them and ask them why. But be mindful, the committee person doesn't work for you. They work for the party. And part of the problem is, if you don't know them, how can they get your position on a particular candidate from you unless they're being instructed?
They don't care about what your position is.
But here's the point. They may not care, but what I'm speaking to is the people. The problem with all the processes, as it is with all the different parties, is the people don't go where they should with their candidates. So for instance, and it doesn't even show that you don't even have to have a party per se. Didn't the last election show a mayor that was written in?
But the mayor, after 20 years, had a patronage system.
But here's what I'm saying. But I mean, of course, he had to go beg the Republicans, and they wouldn't let him leave anyway.
Man,
but the thing I'm speaking to is the intelligence of the people. The intelligence.
The party system is designed to exclude the people.
But we're not talking about the party system now. I'm talking about the duty of the people. If I'm in a party and I know it's not serving me, I'm not going to keep running back for that person in that party. I'm going to find the person I want. We're not sophisticated enough, because you know what? Not only have past candidates not really educated the community, but some who are running now haven't been educating the community how to be strategic, because some of them still in around the Democrats.
Their role has been to misinform the population. Their role has been to perpetuate.
But we don't want to talk about them. We want to talk about those who are the cavalry, those who are the ones that say, I come to fight for the day for us. What is their role, and how will they do it? That's what they have to say. That's what I'm pushing you at.
What you do is you stand up for what is right, and you do what is right. Now they smoke you
on education.
They can't get rid of anything.
On education, your stance. On jobs, your staff.
If
On
you-
housing, your staff.
my stance
Yes.
begins with and ends with the redefinition of this 33 project in such a way that it benefits the project area.
Yes.
That is my community. About Delavan to Best Street, Jefferson to Fillmore. I put in I propose $500 million for the project area. That's $100 million a year. That's $50 million to labor, $50 million to soft costs and projects.
Where it coming from?
Pardon me?
The money.
There has been, maybe you didn't hear me before, there has been over $1 billion allocated for this project.
Alone.
It's being spent right now. In 22-23, they allocated money for this project 10 months before the environmental study. That's illegal, but it's been allocated. There's $500 million sitting there I would spend for infrastructure. I would spend $500 million, like I said, $100 million a year for 5 years. Now the $50 million for the jobs, roughly 1,000 jobs, $50,000 a year. Some people would make 25,000. Some people would make 75,000. You don't have the capacity to spend $500 million right now. You have to build that. You build that by doing the jobs. You build that by instructing the people, by doing the rehab, by doing the restoration, by doing the simple things, not rocket science.
What? How?
Yeah, go ahead. We were calling.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Go to the caller. No, I want to. What I'm understanding about this as a young person, Buffalo is poor.
Mhm.
We're very poor. Our entire economic system is built on property tax, and over 6% of our people in the city rent. We have no money. You wonder why public services are terrible? We have no money.
That's not true. We are wealthy,
but the money
it's misspent.
Exactly. We don't have no money allocated for these funds. You wonder why things like the COB grant and other grants for education are getting cut? We don't have any money. And so what I'm understanding is before we can move forward, we have to make sure that we almost get our base set. You can't spend money and reinvest in our city and we don't have no money. So I know it can sound like one, and this is what I'm understanding again, and I'm not endorsing anybody, but it can sound like, oh, we're starting with this one particular area, but it's because this 33 has been usurping so much money from other areas of the city. Until we rectify this past bad decision, we no longer can move forward because we're constantly taking this money and giving it to a dying project. So until we start to use that money better, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's how this particular area of starting with this can benefit other areas of the city. But I want to go to the caller and give them a chance to respond, and then they can definitely reply to that right after. Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, two things. Point of clarification. Baba Simba used to say, we're not poor. People from all over the world come here to get rich off us.
Mhm.
We're just poor at comprehension. And we need to better understand what's going on. And another point of clarification, people keep saying the former mayor won in a write-in. It wasn't a write-in, it was a stamp-in.
Yeah.
And I think if people had to write the name down, it would have been a different outcome. But I think no one challenged the fact that you could stamp in someone and call that a write-in. Just those 2 points of clarification.
Thank you. I appreciate
Brother
that.
Kamal. Yeah, I still have a stamper sitting in my mantelpiece
Look,
of that. But
I ran
yeah.
for the mayor of the city of Buffalo in
Oh,
2017
did you?
as a member of the Green Party.
Okay.
I've learned something about the Green Party. I've learned something about the various party system. Doesn't matter to me the title, the name, or whatever of the party. It is whether people listen and they vote in their best interest for something moving forward. Whether you call yourself green, sky blue, pink, black, brown, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you can promote the proper programs
Right.
and deliver that to the people. Now, the people have been structured in such a way as to divide and conquer and to
Stay on the line. Let's go.
well,
Because when you say
listen.
Green Party, you're saying they stand on the line. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
the line that listen, you can vote for whoever you want to in the general election,
but
people do not vote in their interest because they have been misinformed and misdirected, and there hasn't been a viable way forward proposed by any of the candidates. So are you on the Green Party?
But I think part of it too, you know something, I'm leaning on you because Austin include us in on a lot of shows before. Is that people, a lot of folks don't know.
Right.
They don't know. And when they don't know, they need folks to talk to them. Not, you know, it sounds like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Well, if we know that, who's doing the teaching? Even in the campaign, the role of a candidate is to help the people understand why their platform, their candidacy should be supported.
I think that if you put forward the proper proposals, if you put forward, people aren't stupid.
Yeah,
they get it. When you talk about putting money into somebody's pocket, when you talk about putting in place programs that will benefit the people in the area, when I talk about restoring the 33
but
project,
what they want to hear, what they want to hear, the money's over here. They over here. They want to know each step that's getting, because everybody comes and say, you know what? Vote for me. I'm gonna bring this. You got one candidate saying he's bringing 90 million in the town with him. Everybody bringing, well, not everybody, but if you bring us up, where it is relevant, because how do the people get it?
That is rhetoric. What I am saying is when
you're saying you speaking rhetoric.
What I am saying, and it's very simple, that when we restore the Parkway.
Get off of that Trumpism.
I don't know anything about Trump or
but what I'm saying,
guys.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be good.
I don't know what listen, all that rhetoric, as I say, has nothing to do with the reality of what you propose. When you talk about restoring the Parkway, you're talking 15 to 20 years for trees to grow. So you're talking that the children that are at the Drew Science School, that are at Makowski, that are at 53, that are at 74, those are the classes that should be planning it as a biodiverse area. They should be learning economic and environmental and all of those lessons early. It should be a laboratory for people to develop gardening, to develop urban agriculture, to be involved in it right at the start. And that's your education piece. It builds in first.
What we're doing right now with our organizations is we're now training young men to get ready for construction, for this piece that's going to be taking place, because whether you like it or not, something's going to be done with the 33. And it's going to be construction, rebar, whatever you want to call it, Mr. Robertson. But I'm saying to you, we already training guys that go into these fields right now. And so we want to know if we're going to be part of the plan. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, the plan is rehab, restoration, rehabilitation. And jobs, I want to teach people carpentry, masonry, fix the porches, fix the foundation, get involved in the roofs, rebuild all of those historic structures within the project area first. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You can be on the verge of retiring. For the next 5 years, pick up a 5-year paycheck, first teaching people, first doing the actual work in the project area. That's $500 million going into the project area, not into the pocket of Gilbane Turner, some mega construction company outside of the city of Buffalo. We're talking about investing in, pardon me?
Thurman. What about Jay Pitt?
That's a black.
Thurman and Herman and Sherman, they can all be part of it as long as they spend and pay people to work in that project area for the next 5 years, and that money goes into that project area.
You okay? I want you to feel. I want you to feel the pressure.
No, I'm just telling you, pressure.
You got to call. You got to call. No, I want you to handle it. Caller, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, can you hear me, brother?
Yes, indeed.
My name is Morgan. I'm from the east side of Buffalo, man. Let me say something. Now, I hear the conversation between you brothers, right? and it's bigger than what you're talking about. Yeah, the training needs to be done for the individuals to be able to develop the community, but the black folks in the city of Buffalo, they're talking to black folks. If we don't get the education and understanding what has to be done, this next administration that's coming in is going to have their foot on the people of Buffalo necks. The expressway to 33, that type of conversation, that's great. But Buffalo is more than just an expressway.
Mhm.
The inner city has to be developed by black folks. If not, in the next 5 to 10 years, the Bangladeshi are going to have Buffalo. The next step
Right.
has to be taken by our people. There's no more excuses. There's no more time for talking. This is time for action.
Amen. You're right, caller.
That's it.
You're right.
That's it.
Thank you for your call.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, is employing and working. I live in that area. I've lived there for 70 years. I live there now. It is my concern when you're talking about pile driving, exploding, bashing, and removing and putting in a concrete canyon.
We got the phone staying lit on you.
that has raised the lowered the life expectancy to the lowest 1% in the country, raised the cancer rates to the highest 1% in the country, and all of those things. That's real life to me. That's real to me. When you're talking about blowing up stuff and knocking down stuff outside my door, that's real life to me. And when you're talking about the people that live around me and their opportunities to work and advance the things around them and rebuild my community, that's real life to me. I don't care whether you're sky blue, pink. I've watched that community change from German American to Jewish American to the burgeoning Black American middle class in the last part of the 20th century. I've watched it in the home of Beverly Johnson, Bob Lanier, Grover Washington. This is a historic.
I agree with you. I agree with you on what you just said, the changes that have occurred. But what I'm wrestling with you is because people out there, they want to hear what else can you speak to that doesn't start with the expressway. And right now, wait a minute, let me just show you. People who don't have nothing against the expressway, they don't see a path to how what you're talking about is going to benefit them. If you're talking about years down the line, and there are people, we got issues that need to be addressed now. That's what they want to hear.
You need to know that they are right now addressing the issues with not only $1 billion on this highway project, but $1 billion on the combined sewer overflow project. They've got a type 1 environmental project going on at Sydney and Lark Street.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I know. Go ahead, discussing. I want to give the other caller a chance to hop in the conversation in case they had a question for the candidate. Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me fine?
Yep, we can hear you okay.
Okay, wonderful. Because I've seen the show, which is a great show, I respect and admire the host very much. Because I've heard persons' identities being disclosed based on the familiarity with the sound of their voices without the callers doing that themselves, I will tell you exactly who I am, and I will take I hope that you take everything that I say in the spirit in which it is offered. My name is Sherry Sherrill, and I'm a member of Eastside Parkways Coalition.
Hello, Sherry.
Recently, I started, hi there. I also am familiar with several other people that are hosting the show, and Murray Holman is one of them. Hi, Murray.
Hi.
I had recently started late last year a group called East Side Collaborative Partnership, and that banner was able to do several town halls on the Kensington Expressway project, which, like I said, I'm also involved in as a member of the Eastside Parkways Coalition. My reasons for forming that other organization, I'll discuss it another time in the interest of time. I think that there is a need for sensitivity, yes, and at the same time, respect always. We need to know how to talk and about sensitive issues and hard topics. And one of these things is the mayoral race. And that's unfortunate because there needs to be blunt, open, but always respectful, kind of sensitive, respect really more than sensitivity, conversation maybe about that. There are three, as I see it, there are three front runner candidates in that race. And I won't say who I believe they are, but I think some people, unless you want me to, will know who I'm talking about. There are several other candidates that entered that race for various reasons. Two of them are running on this platform, primarily on the platform of the Humboldt Parkway Expressway project. There's a very good reason that they are doing that, and I understand it maybe a little bit more than other persons who are not familiar with these individuals. The Kensington Expressway project is the largest project in Western New York history, which means it's also the largest project in East Buffalo history that has profound implications for our community, and we should be, all of us, concerned about the Kensington Expressway.
So Sherry, let me say this to you, Sherry. Hold on, Sherry. Let me say, Sherry, excuse me. Let me say this to you. We actually having an event February 27th at East High School. Meet the mayoral candidates. That's whether you're on the Green Party line, Democratic Party line, Republican line. There you have opportunity, not grown folks, but the youth will be asking questions. So on the 27th of February, 2025, we're at East High School, 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. And I will be there. And it will be a live show. Jim Anderson show will be there as well. And so some of the questions are coming from the youth. So that's what we're going to meet all mayoral candidates, whether you run it or not, on that platform. And it will be an opportunity for the youth to ask the questions. And that's what we had. Because we only got like a few minutes left on the show. And we're going to turn it back into Jim Anderson. Thank you for your call.
I do appreciate the caller for bringing proper attention to the project. I think from my perspective, and then I'm going to let you say your closing remarks, people who want to support, and you guys say your closing remarks as well. I think it is very important that for the people of Buffalo, just that the conversation is framed in a way that I think, yes, the plan makes sense on paper, but if things made sense, Buffalo probably wouldn't be here. And so within that, I think we have to do a lot of re-education, conversations, and translation to help the average person understand, the average voter, right? If voters did their due diligence, like I said, we wouldn't have to do a lot of things that we have to do. And so I think it's just the uphill battle of helping the average person like me, right? Like I said, I'm going to use myself as the example here. Coming into this interview, I really didn't know too much. I didn't understand how serious the 33 project was. I didn't know that it was $1 billion+. And I think that we just have to be very cognizant and careful that what we know and we've known for so long and have take for granted as common knowledge, common really isn't as common as it used to be. So I do understand what Jim is raising, but I do also see the potential for starting with the 33 plan to have very significant impacts and real transfer of wealth to the rest of Buffalo. I just think that has to be communicated in a way that everybody at all levels of understanding can comprehend. So that's my understanding of it. It's been a pleasure to hear your platform, hear more about the Green Party. And I want to give you a chance to say, if someone did want to support you, I wanted to contact you to find out more, what would be the best avenues for them to do that?
I think the first thing would be to be at the East High School for Murray Holman's program. I think that your program, I think that Jim Anderson, I think Murray Holman are doing the day-to-day work of getting these issues out in front of people in a way that they eat different parts of it different times. That's exactly what this is about. It's been shut off, it's been structured, it's been divided, it's been misinformed, disinformed, et cetera, et cetera. You all are doing the work that is the prelude to the work that I propose to do, because then people will understand what the scope of that is, what we're doing, how we propose to do it. And the first part is exactly what you have been doing today, which is dispelling the disinformation, the misinformation, the putting out there that there's a lot of areas here that have to be addressed and different ways to address them, and people are addressing them in different ways. I'm just another East Side guy. I'm Cold Spring kid. I'm going to advocate for what I think should go down our way. That's how we roll, and we're going to bring it. And so when you hear me coming, either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way, because we're rolling. We're going to do the right project the right way. And they told us that it was a done deal. It's not a done deal. We're going to make the right project the right way. Watch and see, and join us and roll with us.
Right there. Anything else
we got 1 minute.
We have 1 minute
Jim?
left.
Jim? Oh, you?
What about say? Can you just repeat that date for that forum?
February the 27th at East High School from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is a forum to meet the candidates. Whether you're running for mayoral or not, you're going to be there, be respectful. And the youth are going to ask the questions. So You can come there to listen, but it's going to be the youth ask the question. So we want to fill that place up because East is significant in this election. And you talking about the East side of Buffalo, and why not be at East High School, February 27, 2025.
Well, thank you, Buffalo. We've enjoyed our time today. Shout out DJ Shout, always for helping us with the phone lines.
Not like
Gotta
us.
shout out my mom because she helping us
she
stream on
rolled
different
today.
platforms.
Yes.
But again, in the future, if you want to call in and join the conversation next time, that's going to be 716-837-1112. And if you tune in next week, Monday at 11, we'll have another show for you. So we'll see you
James
next week.
McLeod come on next week.
Yeah, we got McLeod next. We got Judge McLeod next week.